Well, I wanted to talk tonight, just a little video about the issue of unions. And since this recent GM offer to workers to buy them out, unionized workers that is, seems to be the right thing to do in terms of the national press, I'd like to caution particularly younger people, the younger generation essentially, as to the history of this kind of sentiment and what unions have actually done for the ordinary citizen of every industrialized nation, and that includes us. So, unions have been bad-mouthed for a long time by the establishment, the financial establishment, that is, as being too uppity, demanding too much, and basically going over the top, being too corrupt, and so on. Well, the other side of the story is that without unions and without union movements in the beginning of the century, you and I, as employees of any corporation or small business, would have no rights whatsoever. And the financial elite, needless to say, wants to return to that point. They oppose it vehemently, which is why they are moving their operations elsewhere, where there are no unions and no opposition to this kind of thinking. This goes, especially here in this country and in every Western society. No worker, no white-collar person doing office work, either for a small employer or a large employer, would have no rights whatsoever. You would not have a 40-hour work week with overtime pay, if you even get overtime pay at this point, because everything is being rolled back. You would have no benefits whatsoever. You'd be working for slave wages, essentially, like people are doing in Asia now, which is why the companies are moving there. And you would have absolutely no organization to secure any of your rights, and it can only be done through collective bargaining. That means the majority of people are opposed to something that is being proposed by your employer, namely working 60 hours a week, 6 days a week, for, let's say, $7 an hour. No time off, no vacation pay, nothing. And they thus gain the upper hand. Now, the younger generation is already being prepared to getting used to all of this again. This has all been rehashed years ago, and eventually, once people lose those rights, which they are accustomed to here in Western societies, it will lead to a great deal of resentment and competition between workers and basically the average citizen. So you need to remember that the average person here in the United States would never be able to afford to buy a house. And as you can see, it's becoming more unaffordable now. You would never be able to drive a car, never have any kind of time off, valuable time off, without the action of unions in the beginning of the century to begin with. So you need to look up a little bit of that history if you want to understand what was going on back then. And we're reverting to that kind of sentiment right now. So when somebody in the news, major mainstream media and so on, starts to label unions as, I don't know, unpatriotic, too uppity, communist, socialist, all of that, those are just labels. You need to look up the incentives which made unions possible. And that is precisely why corporations want to move the workforce overseas and into countries where there is no organized workforce. So that is something very much to consider, and it has nothing to do with labels as such. So I think it was an important issue to bring up. Now, the other thing is, of course, unions, just like any other large organization, will become corrupt at the top. This goes on in any organization, and particularly in very large corporations, I might say, where the CEOs are now getting, close to $1 billion bonuses in order to deny benefits to the average citizen. So this is what they're getting paid for. So please consider that and don't listen to negative rhetoric. Just do some of your own research, especially some of you younger folks out there. Don't listen to labels. Be intelligent enough and do some critical thinking. And unions didn't spring up out of nowhere. It was because of gross injustices against the average citizen. And this is happening now basically on a global scale. So that's all I have to say for tonight. The GM busting of union workers is just another example. It's nothing new. They're offering people who have worked there, essentially, and this is the reality. Don't read the news. This is the reality. People who have worked for that particular plant, or their plants in the US, who have worked there 7 or 10 years, they might be, 50, 55 years old. They'll get a payout. They'll get a little bonus check for 64,000. I know they're saying 140,000. That's not the case. The average is about $64,000, $70,000. So they'll get a check, and then at age 55 or 60, they are supposed to retire on that money. Well, as anyone who knows a little bit of math can figure out, on $60,000, you will not survive more than perhaps 4 or 5 years. If you want to pay your electric bills during that time. So please consider that on a real level, and don't let this rhetoric from the major media bamboozle you into voting for, yet again, more outsourcing and union busting. It's very important that standards need to be kept up, and they need to be fought for in this country and in other countries as well. And people are organizing in other countries. So the same thing is going to happen again, because once people have had enough, there will be revolt. People won't put up with it. So pay attention. Thanks.